Hey loves, it's your girl Tiffany Raquel Williams. Welcome back to my channel. Here I share faith and finance based content. So this is long overdue. This video kicks off my budgeting series. I have so many different tips and tricks and things to talk about with regards to budgeting, and so I can't wait to share them with you. As usual, we share from the perspective of faith, and of course it's budgeting, so it's finance. Today, as I sat thinking about recording this video and ensuring that I have a complete presentation for you guys that tackles both faith and finance, as we would say in Trinidad and Tobago, I butt up on a video. I found a video by Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts, and she literally was like on point with the things that I was thinking about in terms of sharing with you for this video, right? So we're going to be talking about budgeting, and this episode is budgeting for beginners. It's the first step or the first thoughts that you should have when thinking about budgeting. So what came to mind is the beauty of starting over, right? Because I know some people would have started budgeting, they maybe know about budgeting, and they never really utilized the budget, utilized the tool, right? So listening to Pastor Sarah, she actually mentioned the fact that God supports starting over 100%, right? And when you look into the Bible, you realize, wait, there are plenty instances where we could see that God supports starting over. He wants us to live lives that are pleasing to Him. And so if we are currently not living a life that's not pleasing to Him, then we have the opportunity and the chance to start over. We could even see with the story of Noah and the ark, where the world was in a mess and God gave the opportunity for a start over. And of course, not everyone needs starting over, but He provides the opportunity, and He also is there with you, guiding you through that starting over. I'm not sure if you could relate, but sometimes when starting over, you might think, oh my gosh, people might say, oh, here she goes again. And the craziest example is, of course, sometimes I would come up with an update for you, an update video. This is the plans that I have. Then I start uploading, and then as time passes on, it might be like within a month, you would wonder where the videos. And then it might happen over and over, and then I might be at a point like now. I was at a point that saying, oh, well, my mind was like, should I start over? I don't want people to think that I'm not consistent and I don't know what I want and that kind of thing. But my message for you all is, you have the opportunity to start over. No matter how many times you start over, you need to start. Because if you keep on the track that you're supposed to go, that passion track, that purpose track, you would see the benefits, you reap the benefits. And perhaps the false starts perhaps the false starts are what you need on your journey, because sometimes you might not be sure, you might not be where you need to be at a point in time, but so the false starts are probably a good place, you know. So if your heart is pointing you in a direction, especially if you know that it's right for you, it's okay to go ahead and start despite what people might think, you know, in spite of. So that brings us to our budgeting topic of the night. Like your faith, you may have a lot of false starts when it comes to budgeting, right? But I want to take you through my process, right? So just remember, everything that I share is basically what I would have used myself, what I would have practiced over time, and I feel like as though it can help in some way. Right? So first of all, let's talk about budgeting. What is a budget? Why do we need it? How can we budget? Or where should we think? What should be our first thoughts prior to budgeting? right? So basically, as simple as it is, I would say that a budget is a tool that you can use to manage your money. And the number one thing I love to say is that a budget is not restrictive. What a budget really is you taking control of your finances, right? So you are in control when you use the tool of a budget. So sometimes I know you might be like, oh, this budgeting thing, I will just use my money however I want to. Listen, if you have goals, if you have certain things that you want to work towards in the future, the tool of a budget, once used wisely, would help you to accomplish your goals. Plain and simple, right? So, of course, you might be thinking, all right, so we know and understand that a budget is something that could help me and need to budget, but how do I start budgeting? How do I start budgeting might be the question. How do I start budgeting? Well, what I recommend, especially if you haven't budgeted in a while or if you've never budgeted before, I recommend that you track your expenses at least 1 month, but 2 months, that would be ideal. You track your expenses, you track your spending. You basically track your inflows and your outflows, right? So what I mean is every single movement of money that takes place within the month that you're going to track, you're going to write down, right? So if you got paid on the 25th, because sometimes you might want to start from your monthly income, because that's where I start when it comes to budgeting. I want to start by a monthly income, and then a month after that, and perhaps another month after that in terms of tracking. So you receive your income, you write that down, you organize for your tithes and your offerings, you write that down. Perhaps at this point you put down your savings, but sometimes people like to know that the expense is covered before they decide on what number they could save. All the bills, utilities, those important necessities, things that you would have to pay every month, things that you pay on a day-to-day basis, you're going to write it down. So and I think it's a day-to-day basis, you should really literally do it, because sometimes at the end of the week you might forget what you spent on, right? So spent on food, spent on Netflix entertainment, even if the bill actually is a digital thing, you should go check to see all the digital bills and when they're going to be due and when they're actually going to be pulled from your account, so you're not surprised, right? So you're literally going to track every single thing. So if it is that you sold a shoe, you got 200 for the shoe, you write that down as an income. If it is that you decided that you're going to hire a car to take you to get groceries, you write down the transportation money, you also write down the grocery money. So you're basically going to track every single thing. So I don't know if I could emphasize that anymore. You're going to track every single thing, and I'll actually leave the tracker that I use down in the description. And really and truly, it's just a sheet and with the ability to plus or minus your digits, right? It's just a checklist sheet, simple, nothing too complicated, right? I think that's the best way to go about it. But if you like Excel sheets like some of us do, you could use Excel sheets as well. After you write down everything for the 2 months, the next thing for you to do is to literally analyze it. So the first thing would be to categorize each of the type of expense. So you know whether you catch the bus, whether you hired a vehicle privately, or whether you got like P-car or H-car in Trinidad and Tobago, all of that would be under transportation, basically. Of course, if you have a vehicle, then all your vehicle expenses, your gas purchases, all of that would be under your transportation. Then anytime you purchase food out, that would also be a category. And then purchase groceries should be a separate category. The reason why I said should separate these two is that you realize where you might be overspending when you could cook at home and that kind of thing. And that's where the analyzing comes in. So when you have all the numbers for all your categories, whether it's okay, you paid your tithes and offerings, whatever category you came up with in accordance with your tracking, you would be able to see, okay, perhaps And this is where, when you track your spending, is really you're tracking your habits, right? So you're going to track the kind of habits you have in terms of spending, and you would be able to make a clear judgment as to if something was too high or too low. So for example, you spent way more money eating out than you even was able to save, so perhaps you should start cooking at home. Perhaps you should even check to see, you know, perhaps all the groceries still in your cupboard, but you would have spent, you know, an enormous amount of money on buying out. And I know we're currently in the lockdown, so a lot of people were not able to buy out. They just reopened though, so people was just going out like crazy buying our fast food. Anyway, you begin to analyze them in accordance with your goals. So that means you also have to know what your goals are, right? So you have to know what your goals are in accordance with your inflows and outflows. You would have been tracking it, so you know what all of your inflows are and what all of your outflows are, right? So one way to analyze is to see if your inflows were more or less than your outflows. Then if your inflows were less than your outflows, then you know, okay, you have some excess money that you could probably save. But if it were the opposite, that means you could wonder now where you could literally save. Because some people outflows might be more than the inflows based on the fact that you might have a credit card. So part of the money you use is from the credit card and it's not your actual money, right? And some people might use money from their savings, which should remain untouched. So all this activity, you know, you would have tracked, right? So in tracking this activity, you'll be able to see the sort of habits that you would have developed over time. And so you'll be able to know what to change. What can be changed? In analyzing your spending, your inflows and outflows in accordance with your goals, what you'd need to really do is to be reasonable. That's like the number one thing. Be reasonable in terms of the timeline of your goals versus the income you have, or versus how much extra work you would put in so that you can get additional income, right? So take for instance, example, you want to purchase a piece of property, right? And after talking to, you know, your bank said, you know what, you probably should get like a $20,000 down payment first to cover all the initial, you know, fees and that kind of thing. Get that, and then we can move forward. So you decide you want to save $20,000, but you realize you would have only saved $1,000, so you need $19,000 more, right? And then you check out how your savings plan has been, and you realize you didn't have a steady savings plan. 2-3 months would pass and you didn't save anything. What would you do now? Of course, one of my tips would be to set up a standing order, right? So that money comes out of your account without you having to do anything strenuous, right? So according to your income and how much you could save per month, you could literally calculate how much would be needed for the particular amount of time. So say for example, it's $20,000 you need in 5 years, then you'll be able to say how much money you would need to save per year. Let's forget about the $1,000 you're saving from scratch, right? So 20,000, of course, divided by 5 would be what? 4,000 a year. I need to get a calculator because you're girl. So we're saying $20,000 divided by 5 years is 4,000 a year, and then 4,000 divided by 12 is like $334. Let me round this up. $334 a month. Then you're gonna check your income to see, can you afford to save $334? They might say, wait, I could only save $200. So perhaps I would have to stretch my goal, or I would have to grind to see if I could come up with that additional money. So that's what budgeting is about. It's ensuring that your money works for you. What you have going on works for you, and if it's not working for you, then you would be able to take the necessary action towards accomplishing your goal, right? So stop seeing a budget, if you've ever seen a budget, as a restriction. Stop seeing it as a restriction. See it as a way to control your finances and manage your money towards a better financial future, right? So that's basically what I love about budgeting, and that's how anytime I stumble at some point, that's how I can actually start back, by tracking, categorizing, analyzing, and then making a plan, looking at each of my goals and seeing what I could do, right? And what my money could do for me. It is somewhat simple, but we're gonna go through it all, right? This was just the beginning stages. I want you to think about it. If you're now going to start your budgeting journey again, think about it. It's awesome to start over. Forget about the times when you would have bad spent money. Forget about those negative naysayers, people who think that you won't be able to set your goals and you won't be able to meet your goals. Forget about that. Forget about the old you that had the bad habits, right? Put things in place so that your money can work for you, right? I know I could probably stress on this in another video, but I need to say it now. If you realize that you don't have the discipline, and that's one of the things you require, if you don't have the discipline it takes to follow your budget, because it's a marvelous tool, you know, but it's a marvelous tool only if you use it, if you put it to use. So we could organize our budget, see this is what we're doing this month and this is where the money is going to go, and then you actually don't follow through. So you need discipline. That's one of the things you have to pray to God for, and just start implementing things that would help you to be more disciplined. One of these things to me is the standing order, right? If you also have a loan, of course that loan is already set up with a standing order. You know why? The bank wants to make sure that they're getting their money, so they won't leave it up to you to give them their money whenever you think you kind of feel like it. No. So the standing order allows them to know that they're getting the money right away. So you could literally have a standing order for all of your goals according to your budget. So you could have a standing order for your emergency fund. We'll talk about that in another video. For your savings account, for your savings for different goals. So of course you might have an educational goal, you might have a vehicle goal, you might have a property goal. Whatever your goals may be, you could of course achieve them, and that's what your budget would help you to do once you're disciplined. Once you're disciplined. So we're gonna be disciplined here going forward. Of course, in upcoming videos about budgeting, I'm going to share with you some of the precise measures that I have put into place, besides of course the standing order, to ensure that I stick to my budget, to ensure that I manipulate my budget and make it work for me. Because after all, we are the bosses of our money. We make the money work for us, not the opposite way. We're in control of it, not the opposite way. Yes, so I really do hope that this video was beneficial. It's the first in the series. I'm going to create a playlist, and you could find that playlist down below. You could find it in the cards. You could go check through. If you're watching this 10 months later, then you could go check through the list to check out all the videos pertaining to budgeting, because you're going to tackle this and you all will be excellent at budgeting. And remember, again, this is me sharing my personal experience and my journey with you, in hopes of you finding inspiration somehow, and also you meeting all the goals that you have for your life, because we're doing this together. We're in this journey together. Thanks so much for watching, and I know I don't say it, but I have to say it. I forget to say it in my last few videos. Please do continue to be your authentic self. Be you, for you. and strive for excellence on a daily basis. Strive for consistency, like I'm trying to do with this YouTube channel. And listen, subscribe if you want more content. Subscribe to the FaithFin tribe if you dig my vibe. Something I made up and I think it just sounds so cool. Maybe it's just awkward me being weird, but subscribe. Like this video. Tell me down below if you've ever been fearful of starting over, and it don't have to be financial or business, it could be relationship, but tell me down below if you've ever been fearful. You can probably share your experience and your story if you want to in the comment section. We want to build a nice tribe here. As we all work collectively to become better people for God, our spirituality, our faith, and also so that we don't have to worry about our finances. Like, why worry when you could pray? Thank you so much for watching, and take care. Till next time, you will see me in the next video. Bye.